Hello again, and thank you for joining us on this international webinar. My name is Fumi Adebote, and I'm glad to be moderating this session. Pretty much, we call this the Super Youth Dialogue, and it's a dialogue that we hope can spark up a lot of action among young people in the South-South, that's the global South region of the world. We believe so much that there's so much we can do if we as young people cooperate and unite towards achieving global actions. And that's why we have come here together to discuss this. First, I want to say many thanks to Anish, who's been able to put this together, and also the team at the, I also want to say thank you indeed to the team at the YFEED Foundation. Great work you've been doing, and thanks for making this possible. I'd also like to very quickly say thank you to others who've made this possible. Clean Earth Gambia, Climate Influencer in Mexico, Collective Ecologistical in Mexico also. Thank you to our friends from Ghana, in African Youth Organization, our friends in Mexico, the Latin American Youth Energy Circle, Everest Leo Club, the Lions Club International, the Sudan Youth Organization on Climate Change, and the Country Needs Us, Nepal. I am the host of the Climate Talk podcast. I'm from Nigeria, and it's my pleasure to welcome you. Without any further ado, I would love to welcome our guests, our special speakers who will be speaking to the topics and sharing thoughts with us as we move on. I'll start with my brother and friend from Morocco, Errachid. Welcome. Please, would you like to introduce yourself very quickly?
Sure. Thank you so much, Shay, for this amazing introduction. My name is Rashid. I'm from Morocco, and I work for American Moroccan NGO. And I'm super happy to be here among these brilliant, beautiful, nice people. And thank you so much again.
That's Errachid from Morocco. He does a very great job as the project manager for the iAtlas Foundation in Morocco. One of the Super 30 youths, someone I'm very, very proud of. Our second speaker is all the way from Kenya, Eastern Africa, Gifts Parseen. Are you there? Hello, Gifts.
Yes, hi, Say.
Great to connect with you again after a while. Please introduce yourself.
Sure thing. I want to take this opportunity to say that I'm really pleased to be part of this amazing group of youth with a clear mindset on what they want in the future. I'm Gift Parseen from Kenya, the youth ambassador for an organization called Maasai Women for Education and Economic Development. And I'm looking forward to having a great discussion. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Welcome again, Gifts. And Gift is one of those who comes to mind when I think about the work that young people can do to redefine Indigenous participation and representation of Indigenous people, especially in the global South region. My next guest is Kaime Silva Oliveira. He is a youth climate advocate and coordinates the Friday for Future in the Amazona region. Kaime, how are you today?
Oh, I'm fine. Hey guys, I'm Kaime, I'm climate activist. It's a great pleasure to be here with you all. First, I want to thank you, the Youth for Environment, Education and Development Foundation, on behalf of our friend Anish, who is promoting this fantastic webinar with such incredible people, friends with whom I've been involved in many successful projects. It's a great honor.
Welcome again, brother. Last but not the least, I know that typically they will say women first, but there are times in Nigeria where I come from, they will say you introduce the biggest masquerade as the last person. So this will be the biggest masquerade and the only female on the list. Her name is Paloma Costa. I want to say so much about her, but I would allow her to introduce herself first. Hi, Paloma.
Hey, hello everyone. I'm so glad to be here and for this invitation. As Shay said, I'm happy to be the only woman here among my brothers, as we've been working together for so long. And I feel amazing on being in this webinar and sharing with you all these thoughts and ways on cooperation in the South-South discussion. I am I advocate for indigenous and traditional people rights here in Brazil. I also coordinated a youth-led organization for the past 2 years, which is called Engaja Mundo. I recently created a movement that is called Free the Future. Please search for it and join us. And also, I recently was nominated to be part of the Secretary General's Youth Advisory Group on Climate Change. And I'm really pleased to be in this position to echo the voices of these amazing friends that I have here, and I'm sharing this panel, and of course of all of you. So feel free to reach me, and let's occupy all spaces together.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Welcome, Paloma. You sound so humble, but I mean, each time I look around, the kind of energy you carry, the excitement you bring to conversations, and the innovation, I am very inspired and proud to be your friend, so to say. So I will go straight to Benita. Benita is the program intern at the Youth for Environment, Education and Development Foundation, and she will be giving us the welcome remarks. Benita?
Namaste and warm greeting everyone. I am Benita Adhikari. I feel honored for this ecstatic moment to welcome you all on this webinar on the behalf of YFEED Foundation. The Youth for Environment, Education and Development Foundation is a non-profit organization established in 2018 that has been continuously working in the field of environment conservation, inclusive education, human right and sustainable development goals. We aim to empower youth, women, children, and elevating indigenous community as a primary stakeholder in the society building and positive transformation. Today, the July 30, which marks the International Day of Friendship, we are celebrating this special day by conducting an online webinar, exchanging our insight on compassionate theme, sharing the human spirit to the friendship in collaboration with our friends and well-wishers from around the globe. In today's webinar, we have a group of 4 amazing, passionate, inspiring speakers. Our first speaker is Mr. Errachid Montassir. He is a project manager of High Atlas Foundation, HAF, Marrakech, Morocco. Our second speaker is Ms. Paloma Costa Oliveira. Ms. Paloma is co-founder of Free the Future Movement, Brasília, Brazil. We would like to extend our warm congratulations to Ms. Paloma Costa Oliveira for her appointment by UN Secretary General Mr. Antonio Guterres to his newly formed UN Secretary General Youth Advisory Group on the Climate Change. We wish her successful and fruitful tenure ahead. Likewise, our third speaker is Mr. Gift Parseen. He is the Youth Ambassador of Maasai Women for the Education and Economic Development, MAWEED, Narok, Kenya. Our fourth and last speaker is Mr. Kaime Silvestre Silva Oliveira. He is the Youth Climate Advocate, Fridays for the Future, Amazonia, Brazil. After our speakers are done, we'll move forward to the interactive question and answer session where the queries of participants will be entertained by our speaker. For the synthesis and closing remarks, Ms. Sonika Paudel will be taking the in charge. She is the Board of Director of YFEED Foundation. We are delighted to see this number of participants. Our organization, YFEED, will be bringing more exciting and rousing programs in coming days. So please stay in touch and do follow our Facebook page for more updates. Once more, I would like to express my hearty welcome to all our guest speakers and participants on the behalf of YFEED Foundation family, hoping you find love, compassion, and empathy within you and embrace the diversity to inspire each other. We wish you a very happy International Friendship Day 2020. Now on to you, Mr. Sen, for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Benita. Really, really appreciate that. Now, today is International Day of Friendship, and I believe we are all friends. And if we really want to work together to spark up, development on the Global South region, we really must see ourselves as a group and as friends. So I would love to take a group picture. If you would please oblige, turn on your videos, your camera, and then we'll wave, and then we can do a snapshot. I see Kaime trying to balance his shirt. That's fine. Yeah, so please turn on your videos. Ita, it's great to see you. Can we all turn on our videos? Let's wait for a few other people. Pawan, Siltal, Angela, Dana, we're waiting for you. Cindy, Paloma, please turn on your video. We'd love to see your face. Great. Okay, so can we all wave and then we'll do a snapshot? Yes. Great. Can we put on our best smiles? I want us to smile a lot more. Great. All right. So thank you so much, everyone. Now we'll go straight into the conversation. I would love to start by doing a sort of introduction. For those who do not know, you just hear Global South, and you really don't know what it means. Pretty much it's just a terminology. Well, the UN has to do with a lot of terminologies here and there. And the Global South is just a terminology that is used to refer to developing nations, most of them in Africa, South America, South Asia, including China. So in all, there are 77 countries that makes up the Global South. But one thing that unites or defines all of these countries is the fact that they are quote unquote developing nation. And as young people, if we really want to spark up development on this part of the world, we have to work together and then let our ideas speak for us. So based on that, I would love to welcome brother and friend from Morocco, Errachid. Are you there, Errachid?
Always. Thank you, Shay. Thank you so much.
Welcome. So how would you love to start?
Well, before I go ahead and start, I would like to thank you first, and of course our brother Anish for organizing this wonderful webinar, but also the Youth for Environment, Education and Development Foundation. And I believe it's not easy to kind of like create and start this event. So thank you so much for that. And again, big congratulations to our friends, Paloma, Nisreen, and Vlad for their appointments by the United Nations Secretary General as his Youth Advisory Group on Climate Change. Honestly, before the first time I heard about the title, and the first thing came to my mind is the history. And so before we dive into the South-South cooperation, let's maybe go back a little bit to the history and ask ourselves what we have learned from the Second World War, but also what our grandparents have taught us from this experience. And so if you just go back to the history and think about the
Errachid?
We lost him.
Errachid, I'm sorry, we lost you, but if you just hold on a little, I'm going to go all the way to Eastern Africa and get gifts. Gifts, are you there? Hello, Gifts. Okay, maybe I should deal with Paloma. Sometimes technology could be very messing up with the way we plan to do things. But Paloma, I'm going to come straight to you. There is this belief that if we really would change the narratives of what is happening presently, there has to be some sort of, maybe not anger, but some sort of zeal that will drive us to cause that change. What level of zeal would you expect from young people across the Global South to really drive the kind of developments that you think can change the narratives for us?
What kind of zeal?
Zeal, like energy that you expect from young people if we really would change the way the developing countries operate.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me. I am surprised, I was not expecting, but when I started on the climate movement, of course, we all understand the rush and the ambition we need to target all the climate agenda for us to have like a future and a world to come. Otherwise, we are dealing on catastrophic ways that even our existence can be damaged. But during this path, that is a hard path because all the time we are engaging with so many hard situations. The thing that motivated me the most was to connect with the young people that are in the front lines. And when like world and big leaders, they keep asking themselves on which ways we could be dealing and we could be going to recover this world, I can only remember what the youth, as you guys and as the youths that I work here in Brazil are doing. Because if there is something to really that can really make us through everything we are passing right now, is all of the things that you guys bring to the table. And this is what inspires me the most. And I dedicate most of my work to help.
Sorry about that. I have been able to mute the person. Please go on.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, and and that's why I dedicate most of my work to connect with these young people that doesn't have too much voice or recognition for their work. So we have like all options on the table, because what young people are doing right now in this world on taking responsibility for things that should not be on our minds right now, but that we have to be dealing with in this society, that we have to study, to work, to target the climate agenda, to help our families, to help our friends. This is too much to be holding on. And what makes us safe in this world is to know that we have to each other and how much we can offer. And that's what makes me believe that we can be having and addressing things on the government to connect with the solutions that are already here and based on nature. So I think like this is the way that I believe.
Yeah, and I love the way, I mean, you display this in everything you do, from the way you dress to the way you speak. You show you carry that sort of vibe, that sort of energy that young people need to get inspired and to do the work that they need to do. Now I'm coming to gifts. Gifts. I hope you're there. Let's look at the Sustainable Development Goals. It's practically called development goals. So it is, if you look at it from that angle, it is specific to countries that aim to develop, that need to develop. But how would you access the participation of young people in sustainable development framework currently, especially within the Global South region?
Thank you very much again, Mr. Say. And I'd like to comment, say about the SDGs. First of all, on our perspective from indigenous peoples, it becomes tricky to us because every individual SDG normally is disadvantaged to the indigenous people. If you talk of no poverty, if you talk of clean water and sanitation, if you talk of gender equality, indigenous peoples are normally mostly affected by all of them. So it becomes a bit of a challenge, especially to the South-South cooperation, having challenges by themselves due to development, as you're saying. We are fighting to get education. We are fighting to get clean water. We are fighting for climate change. And that's where it now complicates everything to the youth. And and that's why I can say it proposes, or it brings on a good platform for the youth to come together from all aspects, try to motivate each other, create opportunities for each other, to come on together and like form a very great force to fight against or to contribute against achieving the SDGs. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you very much. So I'm going straight to Brazil. Kaime, you were born in the Amazon region, right? And the Amazon region is not just sort of important for you, it's also historical and significant for the world. But recently there's been so much threat to the Amazon region and then all that we have out there. What roles do you think young people can play to, first, to support young people within that region, and secondly, to get the world leaders to understand that the Amazon region, as well as other heritage sites, are meant to be protected and preserved?
Thank you, Sia. Hey again, guys. Well, yes, I was born in the Amazon region. I'm here at the moment. And I want to mention something. In 2015, I coordinated a project called Global Action, Sustainable Development Goals, as part of the international campaign Action 2015, Lights the Way. The campaign was a success with more than 100 cultures involved. We made several activities here in the Amazon with indigenous people, students, and locals. And it encouraged us to think about the future we want. Think with me, guys. If you can send a human to the moon, why can't we build sustainable cities, societies without inequalities, and the poverty? We face so much problems, especially here in the Amazon. Amazon is on fire. Indonesia is drowning. At the same time, Donald Trump is trying to make it easier to build new fossil fuel projects. We feel anxious, afraid, and intensely guilty. But we have to become part of the solution some way, especially we young people, because the future belongs to us, right? We represent half of the population. How do we become part of the solution? Our daily lives are undoubtedly contributing to climate change, but that's because the rich and powerful have constructed systems that make it early impossible to live lightly on Earth. We call it capitalism. And yet, we blame ourselves for not being green enough. Yes, it's time for all of us to accept that climate change is the challenge of our time, but we do what we can do. We change our behaviors, consumption habits, we use public transport. For example, my point is that the climate crisis and another crisis we face is not going to be solved by personal sacrifice. It will be solved by electing the right people, passing the right laws, drafting the right regulations, signing the right treaties, and respecting those treaties already signed, such as the Paris Agreement, particularly with indigenous nations. It will be solved by holding the companies and people who have made billions of our shared atmosphere to account. These sweeping systemic changes are complicated and will be hard won. No single person alone can make them happen. Luckily, there are already thousands of groups which we can join, dedicated to climate activism, human rights, vegan movements, LGBT movements. For example, I'm part of several movements and organizations. We need political will, of course, so let's put pressure to them to resolve the global problems. It's much better fighting with our friends. So let's bring them to our movements. Let's make the difference happen. We have to be optimists, and we can't forget to celebrate how individuals came together, how they solved complicated and difficult problems, and how they set aside individual interests to achieve collective success in what will always be one of the humankind's greatest accomplishments. The future we want is possible, but it will only come to pass if we shed our shame, stop focusing on ourselves, join together, and demand it. say yeah.
Just want to say, forgive me, guys, very quickly. Sorry, Shai.
Yeah, Errachid.
Here's the joke. If I might just say it very quickly, my phone died because of the heat. It's actually stopped, and so I'm sorry for that.
Okay, we can hear you.
Do you hear me well now?
Clearly. Crystal clear. Go on.
Great. Well, I was talking about what we actually have learned from the Second World War, and it was all about the cooperation, and in a very unique approach, which is the participatory. And so from that, as locals and as, I'm talking about South local communities, people now are more aware that there is the very perfect, wonderful key for development is the cooperation. And so the world has undergone a major economic and a political transformation in the last 2 decades. The changes, particularly in the South, have been more rapid than any time during a similar span in the world history. And so I'll talk about relationships within the South and between the South and the North have taken entirely new dimensions. So key current issues such as environment and climate change that we're fighting for, and talking about energy, food security, global poverty, and so all of these matters and issues. So South regional blocks, well managed and for the benefit of the many, can enable the people of nations to have and benefit of open markets without the intense and social dislocation. So talking about the case of Morocco, there was a traditional thing that called the Jma in Arabic, but it means that the group of people, they don't need to, they're kind of like decentralized, and so they cooperate between each other. They don't need any central, for example, capital city to fix or sort out their problems. And so it's actually a traditional from the past. And so the new competition helps to break up monopolies and also putting down the pressure on prices. And talking about the economic side of this approach of South cooperation. And so further, the experience of South blocks, including the catalyzing of domestic regulatory reforms and standards, may also be considered as traditional faces that I just mentioned to global comprehensive. So taking Morocco as an example, His Majesty, by the way, today is the Throne Day in Morocco. And so we've always mentioned this many times in every year. And so the Morocco's proposal, whose employment could help unify Southern nations and enable them to realize their human needs, there are 3. The first one is decentralization. And I mentioned this before, but decentralization alongside with a follow-up, not decentralized, because we have to be careful when we decentralize communities, but there is no follow-up with them. And so that results and causes problems of that sometimes communities, they're not aware, or they don't know how to figure out their needs and their problems. And so yes, for decentralization as a first proposal, and the second one is the national governors that supports local people decision making on their development future plays a dual role as preventive measures of conflict. And so the third one is promoting community empowerment, is a national unifiing force as people are encouraged to pursue and achieve their self-determined interests, and basically just reflecting what people reflect in their hearts. And so I guess it just goes all, and it's all about the follow-up. And here's my point of actually, if there's any message in this webinar that I would like to address. And so the follow-up should be from youth. And so not only youth, but local youth. So they will be engaged, driving, involved in designing these evaluation forms and systems. And so why youth? youth, as His Excellency Antonio Guterres said last time, that our generation is totally not his generation. And so to be honest, he's of course the Secretary General, but the ideas to build on our future should come from youth. And so that goes to evaluation. So without evaluation and follow-up from youth, I would say that there is no way that we can build on and create bases for the future. And of course, that goes to the South-South cooperation on different matters, and climate change
Awesome.
one of them. Thank you.
Let me jump in, Errachid. You've made very important points there. But this is one thing I also want to say. I'm coming to Paloma next. This is one thing I want to stress. Regardless of the division or the inequality we see on different sides, and the sort of way we choose to group people and group different entities, one thing that unites all of us is the fact that we are first human, and we are all human. Before I come from Nigeria, I am first human. Before you say you are from the eastern part of Africa or from South Asia, we are all first human. And that's one thing that unifies everyone. Regardless of how wealthy you are, even if you have $1 billion in your account today, you're still human. The same thing with someone who is on the streets begging for food to eat. So that's a very important point that we're trying to stress today, that there is a way we can share this human spirit. And if that comes first, it can guide some of the decisions we take. We can work with consciousness when we're in a position to make decisions, or when we're in positions to influence or meet people who make decisions. But now, enough of those talks. This is one thing that I love to do. There are times we could talk and talk, but at the end of the day, we get inspired by what has been done. So I want to come to you, Paloma. Can you point, if you look at the SDGs, the entire Sustainable Development Goals, can you point at one particular example that you think can inspire someone who's listening right now to drive towards achieving the SDGs in his or a little corner of the world?
I'm sorry. Thank you so much for the question, Shay. And I really like it when you raised the thing that we are all humans. I participated recently in a panel with a philosopher from Colombia. And we were discussing that as we are all humans, that is one question that we always have to answer when we woke up. That is, what are we going to eat? Otherwise, we cannot be alive if we don't have anything to eat at all. And we know that there are lots of people starving, and this really breaks my heart, because we have all the capacities to be giving the same at least basic necessities to everyone around the world. And when you ask me about the applying of the SDGs, I just remember what is happening here in Brazil with the indigenous communities right now. It is like since the pandemic started, as the indigenous groups here in Brazil, they have a culture on being in their community and working everything as a collective. They sometimes live and all the community in the same house, which is like a big Malok is like the name of the houses. And they have like a collective way of living. So if the COVID reaches inside their territories, they are all threatened because they have this collective way of life. And since the pandemic started, they had to isolate themselves from non-indigenous person. Even the ones as me that are partners of them, we came to an agreement that we are not going to go there and that they are not going to get out of their territories because of the pandemic. And since it started, we became like doing a lot of efforts to bring them the basic necessities that they need to complement the safety inside the territories, such as assets and some kind of foods that they cannot grow in there, depending on the territory and stuff like this. And when the time started passing, lots of my youth friends that are in some remote and really far away communities that doesn't even, like, it's really inside the Amazon jungle. And we helped during this time to give access to internet to lots of communities, because as we could not be there, at least we had some way to be communicating with them, and for them to communicate with us if some illegal loggers or illegal mining comes inside their territories, we could help you on processing with the Supreme Court and stuff like this. So we started putting and installing lots of internet points. And for me, it was the best thing, because I could be talking with my best friends that are in these remote and faraway spaces. And one thing that it brought to me that really was inspiring to me is that all of them were building new plantations and youth plantations. And they told me that they were doing that because it was a way for them to connect with the elders, to connect with their traditional culture, and to understand what were the traditional foods, the traditional knowledge and medicines that the shamans used to take care of their health. And they are trying to educate themselves on that, and to become more and more inside their own cultures, so they could get safe from COVID, and they could have like food security and the option to have food sovereignty, where they can choose what they eat, and they don't have to be depending on foods that are full of pesticides. Even the national organ.
Let me cut you there. I mean, I like the way you also stress the point that yes, we are all humans, regardless of our divisions. I also love the fact that you talked about the fact that everyone will have to answer that question of what are we going to eat. And if you look at the SDGs, both the goal 1 and goal 2, that's no poverty and zero hunger. They are framed around answering that question of what are we going to eat. But I've come to Errachid. Errachid, you worked on the farmer projects in the Middle East region and North African region. What were the experiences you took from that as regards the importance of people answering that question of what are we going to eat as it relates to the SDGs?
Exactly, Shay. Well, from my experience working on this program, Farmer to Farmer, basically bringing experienced volunteers from the United States to Morocco and North Africa to work directly with agricultural association and cooperatives in order to develop their work. And so, of course, in this experience, you would get a lot of surprises. And so, one of them is that the trust. And so, the trust not between among and the people that we work with, but also the trust with in the future. And so that brings the question that you just mentioned, Shay, in a very different ways. For example, what we're going to eat in the future. And so, the problem, which is worse than that, most of them, they realize the issue and they realize the danger, but still in the shape of doing the same mistakes and the same problems. And so here we go back to the follow-up. And so, of course, there are a lot of programs into development, and there are a lot of plans into development from the governments and from NGOs and from everything. But are we really following up on these programs and on these development projects with these people? Because when we don't really, take this approach of participatory taking decisions, there is no way we can guarantee a positive results in the future. And so here bring us to an example that we have in Morocco, for example. So here's the Minister of Agriculture brings funds for farmers and bring a lot of plans, but then they're not, keeping their focus, these farmers. So they're changing their focus, for example, from a kind of agriculture from, for example, a very cold water to a very hot water. And that means changing their focus and not following up with them. And so, yes, what we're gonna eat, but do you really receive any information or any follow-up from these parts? And so the answer to that, it is very hard to answer, but at least we're in a progress that these people are kind of like getting aware of the problem and danger. And that's the first step of the solution. But it needs and requires a very entire follow-up with these people, and not really just stay claiming and stay talking about the issues in the first place.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Errachid. I see a few questions coming in, and in the next 3 minutes, we'll get to ask as much people as possible to send in their questions and also be a part of this conversation. But I'm wondering if Kaime has any response to that same question. Kaime, do you have any comments on that?
Yes. Well, the people usually say that young people have the power to change the world. Well, we are living in a world with huge social challenge. Last year, the world reached a historic milestone with 7 billion people, and 1.8 billion of which are youth aged 10 to 24. So, and of this young population, 90% live in developing countries. So that's where we can see the importance of the cooperation South-South, because some problems that we face, more than 100 million adolescents do not attend the school. Every year, 16 million adolescent girls become mothers. We have problems with poverty and with the environment, of course, and climate effects that we face daily. So there are so many problems in the global South that it's very important, the cooperation between us, especially because we are a lot. So we have to make our voice be heard by the people who has the real power. So that's it, my point. We have to make pressure in all ways we can do, because we are the vulnerable people.
Great, I totally agree with you. So I'm coming to, I think Gift will be the right person to answer this question that Angela has asked on the chat. Angela says, there are many people in their youth who are unemployed and cannot meet their basic needs. So if we consider the Maslow hierarchy of needs, one needs to be able to meet their basic needs first in order to bring the other needs into focus. Gift, how do you think we can encourage these young people to do their bits for the environment? People who have not met the very basic needs, how do you think we can encourage or inspire them to now begin to care about the environment and act in that direction?
It's a challenge, I accept, in most of the developing countries, since for the cases of unemployment, you struggle a lot in school. You go through your primary education, you go to secondary, others go to the universities, and you end up first thing, when you're applying for a job, they tell you they want someone with 5 years experience or something. First of all, they don't give you that opportunity to get the experience to work. So you have to like maybe go to volunteer in organizations, try some businesses, which now finances also becomes an issue because most businesses require capital. Institutions like financial institutions that offer the monetary assistance normally want you to a guarantee, like say a title deed or maybe a logbook, a vehicle logbook, for them to be able to fund you or to give you a loan, which now becomes another challenge because where do youths get title deeds? where do we have logbooks for vehicles to be able to be financed. So first of all, the plan that is there is, I think we need to focus more on climate activism. Like, do the little that you can, even in your own places, in your own little spaces, the least that you can do. Even if it's planting a tree, seeing water being misused somewhere and taking care of it, trying to educate the little ones on it. And that was one of proposals in many of the climate agendas in developing countries, that they start introducing climate change in school. With that, I think awareness is going to be like it's going to be widened, and I just want to encourage people to seek help or funds through. There are normally organizations that really fund that come in through to fund genuine youth who with genuine programs and plans in terms of climate change. So I think that's the way to go. Maybe yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much, Gift. So right now I'm going to throw open the floor and I will welcome you. If you have questions to ask, please just use the raise hand function, or you could drop your question in the chat box. If you have a question to ask, this is the time for you to throw in those questions. And then our panelists, whom you know are very rich in knowledge, they can respond to your questions. So let me know if you have questions to ask very quickly, and we can respond to them within the next 6 minutes. Anyone? I'm trying to check if we have anyone here. Okay, while we're trying to figure that out, let me come to Paloma Costa. Paloma, earlier this week, we got what we thought is a really good news when the United Nations Secretary General announced the 7-man committee, or the 7-man Youth Advisory Board on climate change. And we think this is one thing that young people have been clamoring for years. How do you feel about this? We just want to feel your pulse about how you feel about this, and what is one thing that you plan to do within this 2-year period?
Thank you so much, Shay, for asking me this. Yeah, you are right. This is an historical move. I believe that all of the work that young people before us and the pressure that we gave last year on building the Youth Climate Summit and the Climate Action Summit really came with a result. This is not all that we need. It is the first time that the UN is going to have such a group, with a youth advisory group on such high level position. So I know that everyone is still figuring out how it's going to be our role and our part as being in this position. But I feel great responsibility to be opening space for the youth that will come before me, and using all of this experience that I've been having with you guys, especially in the past few months, on what it means to be advisoring something and what does it mean meaningful participation. One thing that I am sure to myself, and that is what I've been studying in my university and with my thesis, is that we cannot be having spaces like public consultations or stuff like this to just hear what people have to say and then get their opinions and do whatever we want from our minds. We have to have consultations and conversations that really addresses and take into consideration all of the recommendations and the things that we bring to the table. Otherwise, it's not a meaningful participation. It is just a conversation. And conversations we have all the time. I'm happy with conversations as these ones. But when we achieve such position and have the opportunity on being in spaces like that, what I really want to bring is all of the voices of the young people that I can achieve by you guys, and really put all of these considerations into the table, and for them to be really guiding and not just a thought or an idea. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Paloma. You sort of responded to what Danny was asking. Danny wanted to know that if we really would get young people to be the central drivers, what's the transformative structural change? And I think you've touched on that. Thank you indeed for that. At this point, I want to really, really and very sincerely appreciate all of you who have been joining for the last 1 hour. Thank you so much for making your time available and for sharing your thoughts and for listening to our very powerful speakers. We're not done yet. Very soon we'll have Sonika to come up and give us some sort of summary of all what we've been having so far. But before then, we'll take a closing remark from the 4 speakers, and that is Paloma Costa, who you just heard, gift person from Kenya, Errachid Montassir from Morocco, and of course, our brother from the Amazon region, Kaime, Silva. But just before I get your closing remarks, guys, Jane Baptista wants to know, it says, given a high rate of unemployment for developing countries, which are currently in the period of elections, young people live in a situation where they are exposed to the risk of manipulation on a daily basis. And honestly, I understand what that means, coming from Nigeria, where so much things is tied on elections and politics. So his question is this: what are the appropriate mechanisms that can help encourage young people to not to give into political manipulation? Any of you can respond to this. Who wants to go first?
I can take. No, I really like this topic because you probably know that the Brazilian president is Bolsonaro. He was elected because he used fake news. And not only Bolsonaro, but also Trump was elected by using lots of fake news. That's a huge problem because this is very dangerous.
Go on.
This is very dangerous to our democracies. Because when like bad people, Trump and Bolsonaro took the power, it represents a huge risk for the whole human life. For example, here in Brazil, Bolsonaro is threatening our lives in many ways. He's incentivizing the Amazon destruction. He's cutting social investments in education, social health, security mechanisms, and others. And how we can avoid this kind of situation? Information, I think, is very essential, especially the young people. Millions of young people. I have the exact number I want to share.
Okay, let me just comment. I agree with you. Information is powerful. There is no limit to which we can grow when we're empowered or when we have the right information. You want to go on?
Yes. Half of all young people survive on less than $2 a day. So leaders of Bolsonaro and Trump, they give to people easy answers, like to our problems. And the people took that idea and gave their votes to them. But we have to enforce our democratic systems, because people as Trump and Bolsonaro, they cannot be elected because they are so fascist. I don't know, they are real devils. So it's really hard. We have
Awesome.
to
I love that perspective from the southern part of Africa, of America, South America. But let me also come to Errachid. Do you have some perspective from the northern part of Africa that you'd love to share?
Well, thank you, Shay, and thank you for this very nice person for this very important question. I was very excited to kind of not fully answer it, but just give a shot about this matter that we're actually living in everywhere. And so from the, if we face or the case in Morocco, I think the solutions, I mean, first we can't say that we're going to protect it 100%. But then there is an opportunity that if we're more engaged or just create groups inside the country, locally and internationally, for example, and go beyond these problems by just being in touch with youth people in such groups and talking about, and not talking, but writing. And so writing is the key that can, help in protecting this from this issue. And so what I mean by writing is to write together and put into articles, into blogs, into what we carry in and what other people, other youth people carry in their hearts. And so if I'm writing, there are of course other agencies and there are other countries that they can be engaged in protecting this. And so not fully not 100% protecting, but at least trying to be not separated, but also following up with.
Errachid, are you there?
Sorry, do you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. Go on.
Good. Yeah, I just finished my point. I said, like, if we're just creating groups, you're the people, and be engaged more in civil society, I think that's the one of the paths into the solution.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I mean, I'm overwhelmed by the knowledge you guys have shared, and I hope that answers your question, Jean Baptiste. I hope
maybe add something a little bit on that.
Currently, from East Africa, I would love to know a perspective on that. How can we ensure that we're not encouraging people to be a part of political manipulation?
Yeah, for that I can comment about. I think it's really frustrating that.
Can you speak up, please?
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, as I was saying, like in my country, I remember in 2007 we had a disputed election over the president, and from that time, the country went into chaos, and people were fighting. People were being displaced from their homes. We have like 47 tribes. We are divided into tribes, and the people who are competing, the leaders who are competing, take advantage of the tribe, and then now they manipulate the youth in terms from regarding where the tribe they come from. Most of them fall into all these because, as you said, first of all, the biggest challenge is unemployment. They entice the youth with handouts of small money here and there, promises of when I'll get into power, I'll do this to you, and that escalates now from the leaders. Those who call themselves youth leaders, they now go incite others. It becomes a problem when now the manipulation goes in again a higher, deeper side of it, and when violence breaks up, it's the youth who are in the streets. It's the youth who come face to face now to fight with each other from different tribes. When the government that is in power tries, maybe they stole elections or what, and they try now to like stay in the seat like forcefully. The opposition leader also now incites other youth now who comes and again now face the police, which ends up in death, serious injuries, and all that. So what I can urge my fellow youth is exactly what Mr. Errachid has said, that we have to like source out for information about the candidates that we want in. We know our values, we know what we want. We are leaders ourselves, and we know what is best, what is best for us. These fake promises, political promises of these politicians coming promising this and this, while at the back of your head you know the last one never did this, and this one will not definitely help anything in my life. Talk of climate change, they never discuss anything in their political manifestos about such issues like climate change. All they talk about is youth employment. I'll provide jobs, I'll build this, I'll enhance sports and what, but they end up never doing anything of the sort once they get into office. So seek for information first, get to know who you want to represent you, and you have the power. The vote is yours. You are the vote. You are the power. Don't accept to be manipulated to extent that you'll come back and regret later. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gift. Thank you indeed. And you've made very solid points there. The first is that we should equip ourselves with information. We should know about the people we want to elect, and we should not be swayed by their sweet promises. This is one more thing I want to add. Here in Nigeria, we had what we call the Not Too Young to Run movement. That movement brought together young people and said, you know what, we are young, but we can run for political offices. And they've been recording some successes. And I hope that's one more thing we can take from this webinar, from this conversation we've been having today, that we may be young, but if we all come together as friends and we share that human spirit of friendship, there is so much that we can do together. And that will be my closing thoughts. I don't know if any of the panelists have any closing thoughts, maybe in the next 1 or 2 minutes, very quickly. Paloma, Gifts, Kaime, Errachid. Any closing thought from any of you?
If I may go ahead.
Paloma, go first, please. I introduced you last, so you should go first this time.
Okay. I just wanted to share with you all, and thanks to all of you on participating on this important conversation. I think, as my colleague said, information and education is one of our most powerful tools, and it's the only way that we can meaningfully participate. Because if we don't understand what is being discussed, if we don't understand what is on the table, we cannot properly participate. And to get good information, we can only get better if we connect directly with people who knows that. So I'm super glad on participating in this international webinar, because I got the opportunity to hear the thoughts of my friends who are in different parts and bringing different experience and knowledge to the table. And I think that this is the most important thing we can get in life, as this is something that nobody can steal from us, which is knowledge and conscience. So thank you all for this opportunity and this space and this conversation. Kisses.
Thank you so much. Peace, Paloma. Let's take Errachid very quickly.
Thank you, Shay, and thank you for everyone.
Can you put on your video, please?
I wish. It's not working with my computer. I'm so sorry.
Okay, no troubles. Go on. That's fine.
What I said is, in the beginning, I've been working on coordinating, and so I believe it's not easy to do this. And so thank you so much for this opportunity to just not only refresh our minds into this matter, but also to remind us that there is, of course, a path in our future to build on and contribute in development. I'm talking about so this is the very a nice opportunity to bring people together from different countries. And so thank you again for this. But also, I would like to just address this message of not waiting for opportunities. And so as youth people, let's create opportunities for us. And so we're able to build on that path that I just mentioned and go towards development and no, in different matters. And so thank you so much again, and shukran.
Shukran, my brother. Thanks a lot. Kaime, closing thoughts?
Thank you, guys. Well, we need to bring about a change to global problems. We as youth should therefore be given a chance to take an active part in decision making at local, national, and global levels. So let's raise our voices, and that's it. Thank you, guys.
Thanks. Last but not the least, gifts.
I want to thank YFEED for this great initiative. My heart is warm right now, having to see all these dedicated youth just taking their time from whatever they're doing right now just to be part of this. I can say let's continue with that. Let's continue with the spirit of inclusion of all. Nobody should be left behind. Let's go on with this. And like Gandhi said, the future depends on what we do today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Gift. Thanks indeed. Really, really do appreciate it. Again, I want to thank everyone who's made out time to participate and be a part of this webinar. I'm very glad to read comments from Kaganga John, who says thank you, from Jen Baptista, from Mamta Lukram, from Angela. Thank you so much, Denny Taylor, Koli from Nepal. Thank you so much to everyone who's made out time and spent this few minutes with us to learn. I really do hope you've been inspired by what these conversations have been able to do, and that you can go out, all out and then be the change that you need to be. I'm going to welcome, by the way, again, my name is Sheifumi Adebote. I host the Climate Talk podcast and I am from Nigeria. And it's really been a pleasure doing this with all of you. Again, I want to thank our partners that have made this possible. The Country Needs Us from Nepal, Sudan Youth Organization on Climate Change, the Lions Club International in the US, Everest Leo Club in the US, the Latin American Youth Energy Circle in Mexico, as well as the Colectivo Ecologistical Jalisco in Mexico, and Climate Influencers in Mexico. I want to thank the Green Africa Youth Organization in Ghana and the Clean Earth Gambia. Thank you so much. I will now invite to close this session and to also give us a sort of call for action, a member of the Board of Directors at the Youth for Environment, Education and Development Foundation, and that will be Ms. Sonika Powdell. Sonika, please can you come in and give us the call for action?
Thank you very much, Mr. Steve. Hello, namaste, and warm greetings to everyone. First of all, I would like to extend my best wishes on this special occasion of International Day of Friendship 2020. This day celebrates the celebration of the role of friendship in promoting peace across the diverse backgrounds and cultures. So the Youth for Environment, Education and Development Foundation has taken a small step to create a global platform where we all can express our views and opinions. So indeed, the today's one. So talking about the panelists, first of all, we had Mr. Gift Parseen. So he talked about how indigenous people are affected by the vulnerabilities, and he also gave an insights of the role of youths in achieving the SDGs. So it's really true that the indigenous people are really vulnerable towards all the abnormalities, but we know that with the challenges also come the opportunities. So the indigenous people of different nations, they have come up to the great solutions and great innovations that we can see right now during this crisis. So next up we had Mr. Kaime Silvestre Silva Oliveira. He presented the vulnerabilities of the Amazon towards the natural calamities and climate change. So I would like to agree that it's absolutely true that apart from individual efforts, it's equally important that we have good leaders and good policies for the effective change and the sustainable change. The other community organizations such as the NGOs, INGOs, and also the schools and other community organizations, they also should collaborate with the government bodies and the local public in bringing out the change. Then also it can last for a sustainable period of time. And next up, we had Mr. Errachid Montassir. He gave insight on some of the important topics like decentralization, national governance, community empowerment, and so on. So he also of them by rapid following up and continuous look over on these topics. So it's really true that the youths are not only the future, but they are also the present. So the innovations that the youths carry, the ideas that the youths have, if they are given the good opportunities at the right time, then the change is absolutely possible. So we also have Miss Paloma Costa, who shared about her they are conducting the plantation to connect with the nature and to become the self-reliant and ensure food security. So it was really inspiring and it was really heartwarming to listen to you. And it's true that we have conversations about SDGs, we have conversations about bringing change, about the role of youths, but if we do not implement them in our real lives, and if all the voices do not come together, then the change is not possible. The change should always come from within. So I would like to agree to Miss Paloma Costa on this point. So I think that's all. And it was a really great program. And it's true that to confront the small to big challenges of the world, like poverty, food insecurity, climate change, and so on, we defend a shared spirit of human solidarity and friendship. So that's why I think we all are here today. And it was really great to have such a nice discussion and hearing such great insights. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. And thank you very much to all the panelists for presenting your ideas. Thank you very much, all the participants, for such an active engagement. And thanks to the moderator for such a smooth and nice moderation of the program. So with this, I would like to conclude my statement and would like to hand over the session once again to the moderator of the program. Thank you very much for having me here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sonika. I think that's about the size. I'm used to saying that's about the size of the package on podcast, but this is not a podcast, but that's about all the conversation today. We could, I know some of you were not here when we took our first group virtual picture. So I would love to do that one more time. So if you can turn on your video and just wave, or we can do the peace sign, or you just wave, anyone, please just turn on your video and then wave or do the peace sign, and then we can do a group picture. I'll take the picture at the count of 3. So I'll give you some seconds to turn on your videos. Turn on your videos so we can do a group virtual picture. Okay, at the count of 3 now. 1, 2, 3. I'll take another one. I love that, Paloma. Yes. All right, thank you so much, everyone, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, wherever it is you've been joining us from. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone. Bye, everyone. Bye, everyone.
Happy to see you.